very good evening and a warm welcome to today's bootcamp on Basics of Python. Learn by doing. I am Pooja Agrawal and I am a senior developer advocate with OpenWeaver. OpenWeaver is a SaaS technology company supporting over a million developers build their ideas faster by reusing open source software. Our vision is to reinvent digital realization. Simply put, improve the way applications are built. By investing in a unique combination of public domain knowledge and artificial intelligence, OpenWeaver is delivering smarter ways to build the digital world of tomorrow. Today's bootcamp is an integral part of our OpenWeaver community initiatives. The OpenWeaver community is a body of like minded tech enthusiasts and open source contributors who have come together with the vision of contributing to the world of open source and sharing how complex use cases can be developed by reusing open source. Over the last few weeks, we have run several open source development bootcamps on a variety of topics, such as building your own AR powered e commerce site, building your own virtual agent, fake news detection, building an AI model for breast cancer prediction, and many more to come. Today's bootcamp on basics of Python programming will cover about how Python works. We will discuss different data types and data structures of Python, a complete kit curated for you with some basic programs. Through today's bootcamp, you will realize that technology doesn't need to be complex and doesn't need to be developed in silos. You will see how you can take a solution that is pre-built, in fact, pre-built by many people in the world, and then you can build on top of it and share it or put it back such that your solution can now be accessible to many other people who can further build on top of your ideas, thereby accelerating the virtuous cycle of innovation and helping you scale your ideas and solutions significantly. You will also hear from developer enthusiasts on how they are using open source to do some of the social good in the world. With this brief introduction, let's discuss today's agenda. So today I will discuss introduction about how Python works, the history behind its development, exactly how this popularly known programming language came, and everyone in the world is now thinking how they can enhance uh, different applications or say build different applications all through the use of Python, right? We will also talk about the basics. So we will discuss data types as well as data structures which are present in Python. We will then use kandi, which will help you with an interesting kit curated all together with the most basic programs. You can use it directly and enhance your development with the use of open source tools like these. So to get started, let us first move to the installation of the kit. So for installation of the kit, I will just quickly share my screen. So you can see that in the description of today's session, you will find the link for the one-click installation kit. So you can go to this link that is available for installing this basics of Python programming kit that we have curated for you. It will take you to this page where you will find that there is a one-click installer button. This button will help you directly install the kit without any requirements of dependencies etc that you would have to install. Also, we have instructions listed down in case any one of you would like to do some manual intervention by themselves. The solution source from GitHub is also provided here, as well as the different repositories with some other basic examples, and say you want to practice. So for that also we have added some Python games that you can build and experiment with later, right? So let us go and start the installation. Click on this one click installer, unzip this file, You will get this batch file. Once you are sure you have scanned it with an antivirus, etc., go into more info and say run anyway. So you can scan it and check whether it is suitable or not for you to install it into your systems. Once you are sure, go ahead, say run anyway, and finish this installation. So what this file contains, it contains all the required dependencies by default. You don't have to make any effort. We are asking you to download it in the very beginning so that you are able to go ahead along with us during the session. You have the kit already set up onto your systems. So I think this will continue our installation. You can minimize this screen and we will get back to our discussion of the session now. Let's get back. Right. So most of you have heard of Python already, and you are here so that you understand that how this can help you enhance your, future applications. Most of you may also want to know, you may think that okay, it's a powerful object-oriented programming language. That's how Python is known. It's the second most used programming language in the world, as put on by various developers in the year 2021. It has been rated like that, and it it can be compared to various other programming languages like Java, Perl, or Ruby. However, power of Python lies in its simplicity. Python is so simple to use that anyone who is not even from a tech background or any layman can also start learning Python. Only requirement is that they understand English language, or I would say they are willing to learn and you know put in efforts. So Python programming language is also a scripting language. How a scripting language is different? Basically, you execute code line by line in Python. That is possible because Python has an interpreter of its own. This interpreter helps it execute each line of code and not wait for the entire code to be compiled. And then we go and solve the bugs and problems that are available in the solution source, right? So it helps you line by line solve this problem of errors. You can check each and every line that you are coding right there and then with the help of this Python interpreter. And interesting part is that Python combines the power of both your C and Java. It has functionalities of C, which is a procedural oriented programming language, and Java, which is again an object oriented programming language. So if you ask me, C was the first introduced programming language, which is still here, right? C, Dennis Ritchie introduced it, and the interesting part was that everyone learns C if they are willing to be, if they are trying to learn or get a background in computer science. Reason being that it sorts of builds your base so that you can grow from there. So when Python was also introduced, I mean, since its invent and in 1991, the important part was it has combined the powers of the two different types or categories of programming language, C as well as Java. So if we go and try to look at the history, exactly how Python came into being, so people already know that Gudevo and Rusum, who was an interesting developer back then and was working on a project Amoeba, was staying back in winters for his, he was not going for Christmas. He was not going home for Christmas, and he stayed back at the WCI centers in Netherlands, and somehow thought that he wanted to get something or a programming language which is a successor of this ABC. So ABC was another programming language that he was working with, and he somewhere wanted to have an interesting, or I would say, simpler to use programming language that can ease, and it should be somewhat like JavaScript, to be honest with you. So you know how JavaScript is simpler. Everyone can start just writing the script and get everything ran. They can run it there and then and check. Similarly, Van Rossum wanted to create this programming language, and the name Python, it is being pricked from this interesting TV show that you know, Gudevo Van Rossum liked a lot. He pretty much watched this Monty Python's Flying Circus, where he used to watch it every day, and then somewhere it would feel weird that how this name has introduced. Python was small, it was interesting, it was different. So he thought that why not keep this as a name for the programming languages that he's building up during those winter Christmas holidays that he had. So if you see today, it started all back in February 1991, and ever since then till today, we have so many different versions of Python. So my intent of discussing these versions with you, that up till this Python 3.5, you are able to use it on Windows XP systems, but further, if you go ahead, you won't be able to use the latest Python versions on the older or outdated Windows operating system. So that is something that you should have a notice of. And then there are different more variants. So this was the latest introduced in March of 2022, which is 3.10.4, which we are using till date. And there are more and more versions which keep coming, and there's no looking back for Python ever since it has also been implemented in data science and other fields, such as for doing all the analysis for the products, for mathematical and scientific operations. It has simply changed things for all of us. So let us talk about couple of features of Python. So Python is easy to learn, that we know. As a beginner, you would want to also somewhere uh, start working into this language very easily, being it is closer to your higher level language. If you ask me what a higher level language is, it is the language that you speak in, or we speak in, or we communicate in. It could be English, French, Polish, German, whatever language you speak at your home. Similarly, it was closer to this higher level language, which made Python easier to use. Then Python is free and open source, right? You don't have to. It has, I mean, this huge library of different uh, applications that can be curated together to build an automated application in Python very quickly, right? So this also contributed to the innovation and enhancement in Python. Then Python is platform independent. So I said that we have combined features from Java. So Java was platform independent. So if you ask me what this platform independence is, so basically a programming language which is not dependent on, say, you are using it on Windows, you're using it on Linux, you're using it on Macintosh, you're using it on another operating system, then you may not be able to use it on Linux or Fedora or Red Hat, whatever different version of operating system your friend has. So this platform independence comes from it having a bytecode format, where I'll talk about this bytecode format in detail, that what makes Python similar to Java, a platform independent language. Basically, it is not dependent whether you're using Windows, Linux, or whatever platform you're using. You can move it, or you can port it amongst different platforms. Also, this huge library support makes it pretty convenient for us to use Python for any sort of applications that you're working on today, and it is highly scalable as well. So this scalability also plays a huge role in making Python a programming language that you should go ahead and learn for. So what are the different applications? We have applications in web development, we have applications in software development. So when you start working as a front end developer, or say a back end developer, you somehow you somehow work with libraries such as, you know maybe you are working with a framework in Django, you're working with something in, I would say, using libraries such as Bottle, or you're using Flask, so that your web development is somehow enhanced. How this has become possible? Because Python is able to give you, applications in all fields, not just data science, machine learning, deep learning, not just scientific operations where all the calculus, algebra, and all these are already inbuilt into libraries. You just have to call a particular library. You don't even have to go and get into the entire mathematics of it, and you will be able to use these different functions and different methods that are created for you within classes and libraries, and start working on deploying your applications. So that makes Python more and more user friendly, and makes it more and more interesting for you guys, or for all the interested developer enthusiasts to enhance their application development process. So how does it work? And should I even care about it? Yeah, I think this is something that we should all know, that Python is more of a language where you convert your high level language, which is your source code that we write, right? You convert it into a byte form or a byte code, which makes it all this platform independent. However, this byte code is not the code that your machine uses. So this is something you have to be clear about. I have a source code, which is the code that I have written in high level language, that gets converted into a byte code, which is a low level representation of your source code. Say I am speaking English, so it is somewhere not exactly what machine understands, your 0 1 form, but it is a form that neither I nor the machine, but it is somewhere in between, say, of English and machine understandable form. It's a low level representation of my English language. And then you have this interpreter which does the conversion. So we'll talk about that as well, how exactly the entire code gets converted and machine is able to interpret and use that particular source code into the form that it is able to give you the required output. So the size of a bytecode instruction is 1 byte or 8 bits. And the interesting part is that this Python file, this byte code that you create, is stored in this .py file, and it is basically cached here. So you can go and maybe even look into this if you like. Who does this? So there's a Python compiler itself which converts your program code into this bytecode. And if you ask me, by default we use the C Python compiler. By default, it is the C Python compiler that is used to convert your source code into this bytecode form. Then you have JPython, PY is for your R programming language. Then you have Ruby Python for Ruby. You have Iron Python, Stackless Python, Python. You have Anaconda Python. So Anaconda is again a very interesting framework that many of us use, or I would say, since it has made it easier for analysts who are maybe not very comfortable with their programming skills, jumpstart their own, you know, product analysis, or I would say draw insights from data in Jupyter Notebook or other different platforms that Anaconda gives you or makes it available for all of you. So let's try and understand what exactly happens at the bytecode level, or when you start writing this source code program. So it gets stored, or your Python program has a .py extension. So we have this entire source code, and now what we do, we convert this source code, or we basically have a compiler which has the task to convert it into this bytecode, and this bytecode is then in the .pyc format. Once you have it in this .pyc format, further it is provided to your interpreter. So interpreter has this PVM. If you would have heard in Java, you have this Java virtual machine. Similarly, for Python, we have Python virtual machine, which uses this interpreter to understand the bytecode which your compiler has converted from source code into bytecode format, converting it from this bytecode format to your binary or machine understandable form. We have your Python virtual machine. It does this conversion, and then your machine code instructions are executed by the processor so that you get the appropriate results, right? So this is the entire trajectory that is followed when you write your source code and you run your source code to get the expected output. So today we are going to do that. So this is what is going to be followed, that you should understand, from .py to .pyc, and then getting converted into the binary form, and then finally getting you as an output onto your screens. So how do I start executing my Python programs? So there is an option for command line window, right? You can simply go on python.org and install using this. You can install it into your systems, and within your system, you would want to say that in the CMD you would just say Python, and I'll show it to you. Maybe I'll just show it to you how you can do it. It's the, it's one of those basic steps. that you could follow. What you have to do, you simply have to go to python.org and then go to the downloads. And here you see that this is the latest version that we were talking about, Python 3.10.5. Depending on the operating system that you would like to run Python on, Windows, Linux, Mac, you can choose that particular file. There are different releases as well that are available. Since I mentioned that for XP you won't be able to go higher than 3.5. So you can say download from here. Okay. So looks like appreciated. Just say download, and then I'll just store it right away here, and I'll execute it. So it's taking some time. Yeah, it got downloaded. So I can run it as an administrator, etc. Right? Since I already have Python on my system, I won't go with the installation. You just have to click next, next, next. Then what you have to do, how you will check that your Python is successfully installed. Once you do all the next, 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 let the path be set for the Python installation. This path helps your command line locate Python. So I would just write Python, and with this I have my interpreter already opened. Now I can simply you know use the first simple command, say hello world, right? This is the first that we write, and see that the output is also displayed here. So this is not as interesting, to be honest, for beginners or someone who would like to get more help. So this is one of the options that I would want you to see. Then there is another option of a Python IDLE. So I'll just search IDLE. It gets installed automatically, right? The moment you install Python. So if I on the shell, on the Python shell, if I try to now execute my hello world command, or I would say I just want to print hello world, I would see that there is a major difference in the way my syntax for the function changes. So print is in a different color, hello world is in a different color. Similarly, my output is displayed separately, or I would say in a different color. So this is one and two options. Then there are other options like PyCharm, which is an integrated development environment in itself. So yeah, we can use that as well. However, my suggestion to all of you would be, sorry, my suggestion to all of you would be that, I mean, Notepad++ is also one of the options that you can use. PyCharm is more convenient. Like PyCharm or VS Code is something which who are already using for development may know that these are integrated development environments. So these integrated development environments are pretty more easy to use. Reason being, they give you a lot of intelligence. There is the editor where you write the code. You have your output option where your output is displayed. You have your explorer, so I'll show you all that in PyCharm. And then VS Code is also one of the options that you may use. Anaconda is a heavier framework. So suppose you are not looking to do something in machine learning, deep learning, or you're not looking to do something into predictive analysis of or something of that sort. You simply want to work out Python for automating some particular application, right? So I think PyCharm, Visual Studio, or some other could be your initial options that you can take. Also, we have kandi, which that you can use to not even install any of these and simply use a kit which will do all the setup for you, right? We have different libraries as an option, but since we show you the kit that you are installing already, install the required dependencies for you, so you don't have to go and install them separately, set up a path, etc. So that is also one of the options. So let's now talk about data types in Python quickly, so that we are able to also see how you can use these data types or how you can implement some data types in Python. So there are numeric. data types. So in that you have categories of integer, complex, or float. So numeric data types are again in the number form. So integers are say from 0 to infinity, and then complex are where you have the iota part also involved. Float are where you have the decimal point involved in them, right? So you can have these three categories of data type. Then you are also concerned with sequence types. So there are strings. I hope you were able to notice when I was writing this hello world, I had put it into a inverted commas or single or double inverted commas. So those are basically your strings, right? Whatever I put on those inverted commas are strings, and basically treated by Python in a different manner. Whatever, even numbers can be put into these inverted comma, single, double, or triple, and that changes the type of that variable. So one thing you have to understand, that when we start working with these data types, you need to be aware that everything is in a form of a variable. Store it into a variable, right? And we try to fetch everything from a storage, which is your variable, right? So either we can have numeric data types, you can have sequence types where you have strings. Also in sequence, you have list, tuple. So these are data structures. The difference is, I'll talk about even the difference, that when we say data types and data structures are more organized. You can perform many more options. These have inbuilt functions in them, right? These have inbuilt functions in them, which makes your life easier. When I'm working, say, on a mathematical set, you must have heard of set, right? And there are different set operations like union, intersection, etc. Si- Similarly, there is a dictionary data structure in Python, which makes your life easier because it is built in a way that you follow a format, and a lot of tasks for you would be simply done because of the availability of these functions or these sorts of characteristics in data structures. However, data types are just any variable which has a certain type, say it is integer, complex, or float. And then we have Boolean as one of the data types as well, whether it is true or false. If a value is true, it will be assigned say 1. If it is false, it will be assigned 0. Something like that. So we also want to quickly see what are functions in Python. So functions are, they're a block of organized or reusable code which you can use to perform, say, single, multiple, different related tasks. And it helps you uh, provide a particular block or module, or basically makes your application look more neat and oriented, right? So that you can use, and you can recall that same function at different places. So we have both built-in functions like print. We already used it, has the code and everything is already written for print, so it's a built-in function in Python. Similarly, you can have user-defined functions and anonymous types of functions. So anonymous is different in Python as compared to other programming languages. Since it is a basic session, we will not go in detail of that. And then when you ask me how does a function defined in Python, you use the def keyword. Next is your function name. If you can see on the right in the example that I'm showing on the screen, print me has a parameter within it which is str type, means it is a string type. And then the syntax has two colon. I mean, sorry, the syntax has a colon. Also in Python, it is very important that you take care of the indentation. So you don't have curly braces, you don't have to indent, yeah, to put everything into the body or a block of a function or any program. What you have to do, you need to remember to indent your program correctly. Python is case sensitive, so please be aware of that as well. You need to take care of the case sensitiveness. You need to take care of this part where I'm saying this prints a past string function. You see it started after a tab. So that is basically the indentation that Python adds automatically. Once your syntax is right, you use the def as a keyword, def, you write the function name, then you declare the parameter within it, use colon, this is the body of the function. You say print this string parameter, and then you return the function. So everything is present in the function body here, right? Then we want to talk about the data structures, right? This is the most important part. Most of you would want to learn something or you want to implement something in Python, you will come across these. Either you will use a list, you will use a tuple, set, or a dictionary. These are the four standard standard data structures, and they help you in organizing and storing data in a way that you, again, I told you that it makes it easy for you to access, modify, and efficiently utilize these data structures. So I'll showcase everything within the kit now. So let's just try and move to the kit. Before we move to the kit, one quick discussion on the importance of open source, where I want to vouch that every session we talk about this, that how important that it is for you to understand that the more you use open source libraries and the more you innovate and make it available for others, the more it is easier for us as developers overall through the globe to grow together, right? We uh, we can take these libraries, use them for free of cost, and take help from different developer communities, which help you enhance your application based on the repo that you have chosen, right? And then contribute by pushing your application that you have built to the community on the open source project yourself. So what do you check for when you choose a library? The important part is you check the support, security, quality, and license. You need to be aware that whatever library you are using as Python developers, as interested programmers, you are choosing some library which is good with the community that is helping it go ahead, right? I mean, a community that is helping you solve your problems. Then second thing is security, where you need to take care that a library should be as bug free as possible, even if it has issues once you develop it for your application. Your choice of library should be wise enough that your application is not getting into the drain, right? After the entire development, you found that there was a major bug in one of the libraries that you chose for your application development. So that should not happen. Then quality comes with the first two parameters, and license. So licensing is something that we all sometimes forget, but I would say that check what sort of a license your library has, what sort of a license the repo that you're trying to use. So all the kandi kits have permissive license. You can simply use them as per your requirement, modify them, push them back to the developer community. So similarly, you should create applications which are for the global good, right? So with this, let us now start our journey into programming with kandi. So let's get back to our kit. So once you do the installation of the kit, you would be able to get to this Jupyter notebook. Once you finish that installation where I had left you, you should be able to come here. You just have to say yes, and this Jupyter notebook will open for you. And now you would be thinking what this is. So we usually prefer development into this Jupyter notebook because it somewhere gives you a uh, good feel and good way of introducing the code and also developing on it. So what I will show you, first of all, I will just use the kernel which is used here to restart and run my entire code, and then we will go cell by cell to understand what is happening. So what I have done here may look a little complex. We'll come back to this later. What we first go through with is this Boolean variable, right? So it's still running. Okay, just exiting these. Okay, I'll just say start and clear output, run all cells. Oh, yeah, sorry. So until and unless I'll be able to give an input for this first cell that has a program on weight conversion, I can't go ahead with my second cell. So how I have done it, basically, basically I have just asked or used a function called input that helps me take value from the user. So I have first written please enter the weight, and since I think that someone may enter 70.6 or 74.8, something in float type. So I have just type converted it into the float form and stored it into this variable called weight. Then further, I have also asked the user whether which unit you are using. Either you are using your LBS or kgs, so that I am able to convert it from LBS to kgs and from kgs to pounds, right? So for that I have used a if condition. If unit was my variable where I am storing the L, or whether I'm taking weight in the, or I'm getting weight from the user in pounds or kgs. So suppose for pounds the user is typing L, for kgs the user is typing K. I will check it. I will upper whatever the variable is. If I type small, then it will become capital L. If I will type capital L, it doesn't matter. So this is a dot upper is a function here, which converts it into the upper form. I say if that is in pounds, which is equal to L, then I will convert it into kgs. So this is a simple formula that I have multiplied it with. And then what I'm saying, convert to kilos. I just want to print the weight of the variable after conversion here. Similarly, if it is not in pounds, then it will be in kilos, right? So then I have just simply divided it. Here I was multiplying for conversion from pounds to kilos, and for here from for kilos I am dividing it and getting my pounds. So let me just please just showcase it to you. Let me enter the weight. So say I would just enter 70. Now it is asking me that give me the unit that you are saying, and it is saying that if you want to take it in pounds, say L or K. So I would say K in small. So already the conversion will happen, and it is saying that you are these many pounds. So this is the one of the programs that we have just put in here. There are other programs like this, simple program for different sequence types that I had talked to you about. So I will get into the details of this, and as well as the function and list and dictionary. So where you can find this after you do the installation, you may feel, how do I use this kit? Go to the place where you have done the installation. You will be able to find this Python. Sorry, let me just reshare my screen with you guys. So you just have to go into this uh, folder, right? Your kit installer where you have your Python basics program, Jupyter notebook. Just go here. After you do all the installation, you will be able to get to this folder. Double click it. Here you see you have individual files as well, which we have simply called in the Jupyter notebook. So just go and say open. I'm just opening it with one of the available tools. You can open it with, since Python and other dependencies will already get installed. Yeah. So this gets opened, and once it gets opened, we just need to see what's happening in this file. So this file basically has the entire code which is running there. I have just written some simple lines on, say, data types in Python. So we know an integer type is simple numeric digit, and I have just printed it. So this is what the ID I was talking about. An ID which has this first part where I have written the code is called your editor. And then you can see this is where I have, let me just run this boolean, select it and run it. So you see at the bottom I have the entire output shown, just like it was shown in the Jupyter notebook. So I can see it here also, because I'm now going into individual files. So what you can do, you can simply check that when print 5 is there, it is simply printing this 5 numeric as an integer. I want to demonstrate that these, whatever is present in these double quotes, is a string. So I said hello world, but let us check the type of it as well. How you can say, I just want to check what type it is. So say type and just close this. Now you can rerun it. So when you rerun it, you will see, first of all, we had this 5 printed for the integer. Next, for the string value, I simply wrote a function, or I just simply called a function called type. So it told me that this is of type string. str is for string. And the next print just printed this, welcome to Python Valley, the place of fun. So now I have this floating point, which is this print 3.5. I can also print the type of this. Simply write type, put it into your curly braces, sorry, yeah, curly braces, and then say run. So you can see it is saying that this has a class of type float. So that is how we know that these are the different class variables, or basically the type of this particular is float. Now next is an interesting application where you have these codes, right, for numbers. That's what I am saying. So this encoded, I mean this basically within the double quotes is a string type. This is a numeric type. Again, you can use type and check it. Then you have boolean. So for boolean, you simply have two values, either true or false. So it just prints false here. And you can see in both these outputs, for print, it is printing this number. I mean, it is printing this as a string, and it is printing this as a numeric. So how you can check the difference? Simply say type here, put your curly braces, similarly say type here. So you would be able to now, and we need to actually add the print, or maybe not for now. So you see the first one was of string type, which is this. Second one is of integer type. So that's how you have your different data types, and you can basically also check their types. And this was float type. So this is a simple program. Similarly, we have for dictionary and functions and list. Let me quickly help you go through functions. So as I told, we will use def as a keyword, and then the name of the function, and maybe self is a existing parameter in Python for functions. You may or may not give a parameter, right? Whatever is encoded in this print, this is like this code will run. And what I have said, just add 3 plus 9, so it will be 11, right? So I'll just change this to functions here. What I have done, I have called the example. You also have to call your function, right? This was just the entire definition, the body and everything. And then you can see it is all indented within the function. That is very important to remember. So when you run it, it gives you this output. This code will run, and yeah, sorry, 9 plus 3, which is 12, right? So that is how you can have the such small programs. We have dictionary as well. We'll quickly see what dictionaries are. Dictionary basically helps you have both key and value pairs, like Jack and the value, right? We are adding the name and ages. So Bob 22, Alice 12, Kevin 17, and then we just printed this. So let me just print dictionary and show you. So it is printing the entire dictionary with the different names and ages. And then if you go, how old is Jack? So for Jack, it is 15, right? So you use the name of the dictionary and the particular key, so that, sorry, so particular key, so that you get the value. Likewise, you can do add someone. You add that Tim equal to 14. So Tim equal to 14 got added, right, to this previous dictionary. And then you just printed it. Suppose Tim had a birthday, so we updated the value of Tim, like from 14 to 15, his age increased. So similarly, if suppose Tim died, you can remove Tim using the inbuilt delete function. Del name of the dictionary and the entry, the key that you want to delete. So Tim got removed. Similarly, you can add more here. Along with the age, you can add the hair color as well. Just use a comma and add it. So what they have done, added a hair color for all Jack, Bob, Alice, and then printed it with that particular index, right? Printed it with that first Jack has so blonde got printed. So similarly, you can check out more programs that we have here, and sorry, similarly you can check more programs that we have here, and then let us know how and what different sorts of kits that you would like to also showcase. In fact, uh, with this, I would want to say that I wrap up my session here, which where we discuss three key concepts. We discuss about Python, right? How it works, what are the different features that make it useful. We talked about the different data structures in Python, and also I showcased you how everything I can curate with simple different programs. It was a very very basic kit today for you. We have different use cases, right, that you can go and explore as one click kits that have been developed by young and senior developers, and those are on different topics, so that are very relevant in today's world. So today we had this on basics of Python. You can have more on uh, fake news detection, breast cancer prediction, artificial intelligence, blockchain, whichever you guys want to explore more on. And you can try on some of these kits and not just the kit that I'm discussing. So open source basically, has helped all young developers try simple concepts by help of each other contributing overall. So talking about young developers, we have two developer enthusiasts who have been waiting to join us, and I would like to welcome them. So good evening and welcome Akshara and Balaji. Thank you for joining the Open Weaver community and supporting our efforts in shaping the future of open source. So why don't we start with a short introduction?
Sure, Mom. This is 𝗟ક્ષરા from VIT Chennai. Good evening, developers. I'm pursuing my final year BTech in the branch of Computer Science Engineering with a specialization in cyber physical system. I'm associated with OpenWeaver as a student ambassador, and I am here to represent you all. So that's about me. So I would like to hand over it to Balaji.
Thank you, Akshara. First of all, I would like to thank Pooja for this wonderful session, for making people understand how Python is important for beginners, and it is great to be a part of OpenWeaver community. I would like to shortly introduce myself. I'm Sri Balaji, currently doing BTech EC in VIT Chennai. I'm joining from my native Hosur, and I would like to thank people for this wonderful opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Balaji. Thank you, Akshara. So since you guys are here, I wanted to ask you, Akshara, in which year of engineering do study Python? So
Uh,
that, yeah,
yeah.
it gives an idea to others as well.
Yeah, so I was taught Python in my first year of my BTech, computer science curriculum. And the implementation soon took place in the second year through projects. And so that's about my Python career. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's interesting that even in the very first years, now you guys have started working and learning Python, so that you can full-fledgedly use it for all your projects in the upcoming years of your study. Interesting.
Yeah. Yes, Pooja. So, Pooja, when you were discussing about the application part in your presentation, I thought I would just showcase a kit that has libraries under each application. So, which is
I,
of help to most of the developers. So, would you like to take a look at the kit that I have developed?
Absolutely, I think that will be a great thing. Go ahead.
So this is my kit on Python libraries for applications. So Python is one of the most popular programming languages today, and as quoted by Pooja, it is easy for beginners to learn and use as well. It is a free and with a of extensive modules, popular programming language for machine learning and deep learning applications. So about the advantages of Python, Python is interpreted, it is interactive, it's an object-oriented language, and it's a beginner's language because it's easy to use and learn as well. So going on to its application. So one of its application is the web application. So here I have two libraries framed. So Flask and Bottle. Flask is a web framework. It's a Python module that lets us develop web applications very easily. Next, move desktop GUI and Spectre desktop. So PySimple GUI is a Python library that wraps Stringter, 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗃 and 𝗵𝗏 for the browser support, allowing very fast and simple to learn GUI programming. Moving on to the software development as quoted by Pooja on the slide. So here we have Splunk SDK Python and 𝗟AC track. So the Splunk software development kit for Python contains library and examples designed to enable developers to build applications using Splunk. Next, moving on to the scientific and the numeric, I have Cocos and DeepXDE. So Cocos is a package for numeric and scientific computing on GPUs for Python with a NumPy-like API. So moving on to the business and enterprise application. So here I have two, Dabo and Django CMS. So Django CMS is a modern web publishing platform built with Django. The web application framework perfectionist within deadlines. Next is the audio or video-based application. So here I have two, Paddle Hub and 𝗟𝗏𝗋. So 𝗟𝗏𝗋 aims to increase the robustness of AI models during training and the evaluation period. The library includes 4 modes, that is audio, a video, image, text, and provides over 100 data augmentation methods. So this is about the kit. But Pooja, I had a small query while working with Python. So the doubt that I had was in the usage of functions and methods, because these are the regular thing that we use in the coding of Python. So could you explain how exactly they can be used appropriately and what is the difference between each of them?
Absolutely. So, if you ask me, a method refers to a function which is a part of a class. You can access it with an instance or object of the class. However, if you talk about a function, there are no restrictions with functions. It's just it's a standalone in itself. This means that all your methods are functions, but not all functions are methods. So I hope I was able to clear your doubt.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
interesting. Okay, so now I think I would like to have some questions picked up from the audience, and I could see there are few. Okay, so I see one question coming up where Jakes is asking how Python can be used for web development. Okay, so there are interesting libraries we talked about. There's Flask, there's Bottle. However, if you want to like to get more into the details, then maybe Balaji, you can go ahead and talk about it a bit.
Yes. I have a kit based on that, based on web frameworks, based on Python. So I would like to present that to have a better understanding for the people.
Okay,
Can I
sounds
share?
good. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. If you
Yes. So this is my kit. Python's role in web development actually generally leads to sending data and from the servers processing data, communicating databases, URL routing, and ensuring security and so on. And there are several frameworks for the development of web. So web applications. Commonly we use Django, Flask, all those things. So this kit is based on all those frameworks. First library I would like to say is Django. It is the best framework to build up application if you are starting from scratch. That is, it will provide from everything whatever you need to build it from scratch. Flask is another library that is actually opposite of Django, we could say, where it is bundled everything but in one package. The main idea of the Flask is to have a good web application foundation. It mainly focuses on that point. Next, going on for the Web to Py, it is also one similar framework. Mainly about this Web2 framework, we could say that it has own web-based IDE, which among other things include as code editor and debugger and one-click deployment. For such kind of things, we could go for Web2, and another comes Pyramid. So Pyramid is one of framework which has core tools like mapping URLs to code, security, and serving static assets like JavaScript and CSS. And we could say that other libraries also have similar functions such as 𝗟𝗍𝗃, Falcon, and TurboGears, and so on. So people who are getting started with web application development could go through this kit, and they can understand much more about each and every framework so that they can use appropriate libraries to get started with.
Okay, I think your question basically, I mean, your kit basically answered so many people's questions. I can see there are a couple of people who have questions between Django and Flask, which you already talked about. Then a couple of people asking which would be the best for Python. So yeah, I discussed that in the session. You can maybe rewind, or I won't vouch for any particular one. So I did discuss the benefits of each during the slide. And then there is some people who also would like to go ahead and check out our developer enthusiast kits. So pretty much we are going to send you a follow-up email, guys. In that email, you will also get links to both the kits which Akshara and Balaji have showed today. So please stay a little patient. Along with your certificates, you'll also get a follow-up email. Please find their kits into that link. I mean, into that email. So thank you so much, Akshara and Balaji, for joining us today, and representing this larger community of young developers. We look forward to seeing many other such kits from you and your friends. Hope
Thank you so much,
you bring your
Pooja.
ideas and solutions to life much faster.
Thank you so much, Pooja, for having
And
us today.
Thank you.
absolutely, thank you so much. So thank you all our viewers and bootcamp participants. We hope you enjoyed this session and found the use cases presented valuable. The link to the certificates will be available in the description of today's session, which gets opened only after completion of our bootcamp. So you will receive these certificates within 24 hours. So stay patient. In fact, in 12 hours, that is tomorrow, by tomorrow early morning, you will be able to receive your certificates. And we keep conducting such boot camps frequently and regularly. So if you would like to stay updated with our program calendar, please join our community on Discord. You can find us by searching for OpenWeaver on Discord. The Discord community help us connect with you, receive your feedback, understand topics for future boot camps, and much more. Also, do follow us on our social media channels to stay updated on information and trends in the world of open source. Thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this session.